That Incubus poster is just not gonna last. It's okay, I have plenty of replacements. Kinda neat though. I like the white offsetting the black. Hi, this is Cover Killer Nation, and this is not interior decorating tips with CKN. No, instead this is another album review, like the title suggests. I'm going to be talking about Tosin Abasi and his project, Animals as Leaders, who released their second album this coming Tuesday. It was actually released on Friday in other corners of the globe. However, it's going to be released on Tuesday here in the States, and it's entitled Weightless. I'm very excited about this album because the very first release by this band was something that you would not expect, actually, for a lot of people to really move around and really enjoy. Why? Because it's instrumental. An instrumental work by a guitar player is really hit or miss whenever it comes to mainstream popularity, either that or just popularity within one section of music. It usually takes a really special guitar player to have that happen, and most of the time, you're typically going to see them surrounded by a band that does include, at times, a vocalist, but not always. Guys like Yngwie Malmsteen are able to do it, but on a lot of the records there, he had a vocalist, they had a full studio band, everything like that. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, obviously in the blues department, has singing. He himself tried to do so. He just recently got back their old singer from way back from Trouble Is, from the mid-1990s. And then, of course, you have your typical legends, your Stevie Ray Vaughns, your Steve Vais, your Jimi Hendrix, most of which do include some singing, but some do not. So, whenever I realized how many requests I had, not only for this album, but for their first album whenever it came out a few years ago, whenever I was just cover killer, it's kind of impressive to see that. It's impressive to see a lot of people get behind an instrumental record, because it's not something that happens a lot, except, of course, if you listen to a lot of post-rock. Now, I really enjoy albums like this because there's a nice freeform experimentation idea that's out there. And this is almost like progressive metal mixed with space rock or space metal to create progressive space metal. Now there's also that lovely new word, that lovely new term that's kind of come into our musical subculture. The gent or the djent, however you want to call it, it's being fused in this album as well, and you can tell just from the tones that you're going to hear on some of the tracks, it's omnipresent. It's something that's just there and it flows with the music beautifully. It's exactly the way the progression needs to go. Now this 12-song, 46.5-minute long affair is one that flows very nicely. And whenever I say that it flows nicely or flows seamlessly, this is almost like Cover Killer's dictionary moment, it means that from track to track it does not feel as though the ideas that are constructed and put together and reflected in the track listing on the album are disjointed. It's not as though you're getting hit with one idea that's moving on to another idea that has absolutely no purpose being there, makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't feel very awkward whenever you listen to this album from front to back. It has a nice flow to it. Now, that being said, these are all also extremely varied tracks in the way in which they're represented. The representation is all very well done on the construction scale. However, he has that freedom to just go into his own little world, basically experimenting with all of the different aspects of his guitar resume or in his guitar catalog, his pedal catalog, and in different methods, different methodologies, different approaches, and styles. There's a lot of great progressive music on here. If you are a fan of progressive metal, then this is definitely for you because you enjoy a lot of freeform improvisation within the works. But if you like progressive music because of the vocals, which is, well, not 100% the reason why we're into progressive music, at least most of us, but this probably won't be for you because there are no vocals. If you like post-rock, this is actually a neat little right turn. Whenever you're supposed to take the left to go to Albuquerque, you're taking the right turn, you're ending up in Pasadena or someplace like that because there's just a lot of really cool ideas that are presented. Now, these are not long songs. These are not songs where you're going to feel completely and totally overwhelmed. Progressive fans sometimes can feel a little bit distanced from the band itself whenever they go off on these long tangents that can last 20 minutes up to, or some even longer. Take a look at bands such as the Flower Kings that are able to do very, very long pieces that are all centered around a focal theme. Take a look at bands such as Dream Theater, which are able to write some very good lyrics, and they were able to have some very impressive moments of zen with James LeBray and the band, but then can easily go off into 5, 6, 7 minute long, like wank-off sessions, as people like to call it, That's not going to be present here. The longest track on here is going to be just under 6 minutes, I believe, and this is chock full of ideas that is going to remind you of other guitarists that maybe have launched projects such as this one that have been less successful. If you ever have heard of the band Freak Kitchen, their guitarist did did a solo album as well that is very difficult to find, and I will say it doesn't really matter because it is very good. And also, whenever you talk about the creativity, whenever you talk about really just kind of going off into all avenues and not being afraid to really explore and use your real freedom on this avenue, take a listen to an album such as any of the Buckethead releases, and you'll realize that Animals as Leaders are kind of following a similar program. The only difference is that they're keeping it a little bit more geared toward the progressive style, toward the dance style, toward a little bit of jazz, a little bit of fusion. There's a lot coming together. That's being said, let's talk about execution. Execution is very strong in this release. This is something that was highly anticipated, and they definitely did not fail. All the fans of Animals as Leaders, they're going to be very pleased with the way in which this is all being reflective upon them. You're going to feel like right from the first track they're taking a space journey, as though the first track, the first couple of seconds is like liftoff. You're moving past the stratosphere and into space. And then from then on, you're kind of journeying throughout the stars. You're journeying throughout these different environments, these unfamiliar locations, places in which you've never seen before, that you've never been to before, and that you may never ever see again, all depending on where you end up in the dense vacuum that is outer space. That's kind of the feeling that you get. But instead of feeling like you're in outer space alone and nothing is familiar and nothing makes sense, all the ideas, all of the unique environments, it's all something that is of grave interest to you. It's something that keeps you reeled in and engaged with this album. It's something that if you're going to listen to it with a set of headphones, which I highly recommend, do not play this just through your computer speakers, use a set of headphones. You're going to feel very in touch with everything, almost as though you are living this fantasy that I just proposed. Almost like if you close your eyes, you're going to see everything that I just described, only in your own way. Weightless by Animals as Leaders, I will go on a limb to say, will probably be a candidate, if not the winner, of Instrumental Record of the Year. Not necessarily because there's a great deal of competition around there that I've really gotten a chance to listen to, or the opportunity to listen to, but because this is an album that really plays off its principal strengths, and that's tremendous instrumentalization, very, very nice exploration and experimentation, and overall, just a very nice execution. You put that package together, the fans will be happy. The fans will be happy. This is a solid release. This is one that I definitely recommend to any fan of instrumental music out there. And even if you're not, even if you're just a metal fan, even if you're just a rock fan, somebody that really enjoys something different on occasion, Animals as Leaders is a band to definitely check out and give a shot. Mainly because there is a little something for everybody. And there's a little something that progressive fans especially are going to really love.